Hello ladies and gentlemen, T1 vs How Life, Game 1. I wanted to cover the main differences in T1 this year and in comparison to the previous roster with Zeus. The previous roster with Zeus was always playing very isolated, and then they were very clutch in team fights. We saw many games where Zeus died on side, Faker died on side, and often Oner would just power farm, and what Keria would do to compensate for the fact that his jungle wanted to power farm was of course that he played Bard, he played Pyke, he played Rakan, very mobile supports that could put vision down, or he played strong power duos on mid lane together with Keria, range supports that allowed them to put enough pressure that the jungle needed to contest on the mid wave, which allowed Oner to power farm and be the 3-item Vi on Dragons. But this T1 roster is more connected and more unified than ever, honestly, in terms of how coordinated they are and how on the same page, hive mind like they are in their gameplay. I think this game showcases that beautifully. Let's talk about draft very shortly, just to isolate, the key details, because Annie and Galio, very similar in champions. I think the main thing that stands out, what you need to look out for in games like these, is the Ambessa versus Rumble matchup. When, of course, Ambessa has a Vi on her side, they want to set up cases where they dive Rumble and pressure Rumble, because if Ambessa's ahead of the curve, she's going to beat Rumble in isolation, beat Galio in isolation, farm, get to 3 items and be able to carry the game because she'll be very bulky and tanky and she'll be able to combo with Vi. Rumble wins the early lane, and if he can have help in transitioning that power into the team fights, then he's going to be super happy, which is the opposite of what, of course, Ambessa wants to, just accomplish. So let's take a look at some of the details in the game that really signified that, of course, T1 was aware of this and how they played around it. We have the situation here that I wanted to highlight in terms of their vision setup. T1 does a great job of making sure that they always have information. You can see this, we have a ward here that is placed by, of course, Doran. We have the ward that Wukong places now over the Drake because he knows, of course, Vi is clear. After golems, he's going to base and go into bottom side. This is something they're tracking actively. You can also see even before the ward on, of course, Grump, where they spotted Vi. Full control over Vi, which makes sure that Vi is not allowed to do anything freaky, which of course allows everybody to play their lane phase as they want and allows them to get the free base in here ahead of the objective. The first objective of the game, of course, is going to be Drake before the grub spawn. They're going to base, Rumble ults top, and he's going to walk out on bot or TP. You can always choose. He walks out here, doesn't want to burn the TP, and this ward here on, of course, the Drake makes a big difference. What's going to happen in this moment is that Keria is going to switch over to the TP, is going to have it on the ready. He's going to be able to, of course, match if the light wants to do something freaky. And in this moment, Peanut feels very safe after Crab to just lease the Drake. He has no camps to spawn, and this is something that, of course, T1 prepared for in terms of their setup. They know Vi's clear. He's going to be at 49 CS in the Crab on bottom side, and then leash the Dragon. Oner, of course, preemptively warded the pit, which allows them to, of course, create this counterplay. Oner steps into river, and then, of course, Peanut is going to try to finish the Drake, which in the end he will, but you can see Keria's mindset here. He's tethering to, of course, the opposition. Rumble is going to look to connect. Even Sivir is collapsing. You can see already how T1 was so aware of the same idea. In this moment, of course, Keria tries to find a beautiful timing here to push away Peanut so Wukong can steal the Drake, which is, of course, super close. There's one small detail here, right, that Doran doesn't have his Rumble ult, which is a bit, of a point of contention, point of weakness. But you can see here Sivir is collapsing to the situation, Galio is collapsing to the situation, and they're very happy to commit into this fight. Just the fact that they set up for the entire scenario with the ward placements, with the TP setup, and then of course with the collapse through topside all the way into bot to punish a Vi that is trying to steal a dragon is very nice. Imagine a situation here where Wukong stole this Drake, it would have been a lot more painful. Here in this moment, I think that you can argue that maybe Rumble should TP top to just catch this wave because this is what he, of course, saved it for. But in the end, he chooses not to and just goes into bottom side, and Sivir is the one recalling, going into top side. The reason they want to base on Sivir and go into top side is because, once again, they want to play around the timer on, of course, the next objective, which is the grubs. Here on the grubs, you can see a very crucial detail in terms of T1 setup in comparison to the KT series, is that they actually connect with Gumayusi. So Gumayusi had a tempo advantage because Varus decided to take one plating top, which means that they're all connected on the grubs and they're going to collect them for free because Varus and Nautilus are just a little bit too late. Keria hovers onto mid wave and they manage to collect the full grubs. We jump forward now to this moment in time. At 11 minutes, this beautiful tempo play from Keria. So at this point, you can see that they have Pry on bottom side, Gumayusi and Keria. They are pushing in this wave. And the crucial thing here is that they know already that just because Nautilus decides to catch this wave, they know on the fact that he has no wards in his inventory, that he needs to match the recall, and he needs to open back on the map. Sivir and Poppy now are basing so far ahead, of course, of the enemy. If you can see them right here, they're recalling. They are basing so far ahead the enemy that they know that Poppy doesn't need to be bought. And this tempo advantage, if we just fast forward a little bit, we're going to see that Poppy just opens straight into top side. Sivir is going to have Essence Reaver, so he's going to be able to, of course, push this next wave or catch this next wave if Varus decides to go. The tricky thing about Varus' position is that he can't walk easily on the next wave. His base is also very awkward because he doesn't have Blade Rune King Gold yet, because it's a very expensive item. He doesn't have the capacity to walk freely on the next wave because Poppy and Sivir can trap him. And at the same time, if Sivir based is also, you know, a problematic spot for him. T1 does a great job, of course, always leveraging their tempo from support, and they manage to spread it across the map. You're going to see here, as we fast forward, Poppy is going to open straight into top side. He's just going to walk there, and in this moment, you know, Ambessa's not ready for this. He's not playing around this, you know. His bot lane is afraid of the Poppy that might be on base. The Poppy right now could be mid, could be bot, could have stayed bot, could have recalled. Has so many damn options that even in a world where maybe Ambessa played around this, it still would have been awkward, because then Rumble is going to push out for free, base for free, in a situation where Zeus feels very strong because he has the Eclipse. And the way T1 play, and Keria specifically, plays around the tempo and makes sure that he kind of spreads his advantages is a very crucial detail of how well T1 play currently. And you can see that when Keria is not having a good game, where you know, Keria and Gumayusi are not laning well, like in the KT series, then everything kind of falls apart for, of course, the T1 playstyle, which only rational, you know? You leverage the fact that you have a very, very strong player. Additional detail here, Doran decides to just stick around and not base. He decides to push one more to force the Ambessa TP, and he doesn't look to base to commit onto, of course, the Drake situation, because he's in the state of mind that I don't have Liandry Gold yet. I didn't skip my shoes. I need Liandry Gold, so let me hit one plating, get one more wave. We don't have Wukong and Trinity Force. We don't need to fight right now. We are not in a rush to fight. We can take it easy. So they just give up this Drake. Wukong is going to eventually base on Trinity Force. They do a soft contest maneuver to try to cancel recalls and to, of course, burn time from the enemy. But they're not in any kind of interest to kind of force fight or force you know, any situation here onto the Drake. Eventually the recalls come through, and Peanut you know, calls the bluff here of T1, and they leash the dragon. The next thing I wanted to highlight is this Rift Herald setup, which is very, very nice. What T1 do after this Drake is that after, of course, you know, How Alive spend tempo on Drake while they're recalling, means that they can open first into top side. They drop full vision, and here How Alive need to retake. They hit the red, and they know that they spotted Vi, so Doran can play aggressively onto Zeka. He's not afraid of the Annie ult. Vi crosses and tries to, of course, gank the Rumble. And once again, this is the crucial detail. It's like Hamlav's whole game plan is to send the Vi into the Rumble lane, look to try to punish him. And Doran does such a great job of being aware of this. Now, you're going to see the players on T1 look to recall. After they put the vision full topside, they're going to open on the map again. Rumble ult on the bot wave. Rumble is going to base and reopen into bot because he still has TP. He's just making sure that Vi doesn't get any counterplay onto his side. They already put the vision topside because of what we mentioned before, because of the tempo advantage from the previous Drake. What we're going to see here is that you know, as Galio opens on the map, they see Annie is on the top wave. They saw her recently, and she's going to spot the Annie right now. So just because they spot this Annie right now, they know that any fight in river is going to be winning because they have the presence of Galio ult. So look how aggressively T1 now is going to play with the coordination of this. Keria is trying to bait the engage, and then they look to slam. And there we have it, the engage that they've been looking for. Annie on the top wave. Galio is super happy to just be sent in here with the Galio ultimate. Eventually, Wukong ships him in. They push him out. Viper tries to flash away, but he falls. And then, you know, this might be a standard setup, but look at Keria's reaction here. They didn't spot Vi yet. And like Pepsi Man in that old PlayStation 1 game, Keria just sprints into bot lane. Because he knows Peanut is not going to contest, of course, the Rift Herald right now, because we just won the fight and pushed him off. Sivir is going to be there. We're going to have good numbers against him here. The only counterplay they have is to send Peanut, of course, into Rumble, and just look how quickly Keria just sprints down into bot lane because he knows he needs to be on this wave if it crashes into the tower, because Doran doesn't have Rumble ult. So it's beautiful. Truly, truly beautiful how T1 plays so coordinated and together. He just sprints in the bottom side, and now that he spotted Vi, he's chilling. He's like, okay, Vi is not diving bot. We are chilling. You're chilling, Doran. Thumbs up, baby. No one's going to come for you. He's going to check on the ping, and then he crosses back into top side because he notices that How Life is looking to contest. Ambessa is TPing. The same way How Life is paying attention to this data and information is, in their mind, okay, we saw Poppy cross into bottom side. We can be even numbers top with the Rumble TP. So Keria starts sprinting back into, of course, the Herald fight, and T1 are playing it away, but they're trying to, of course, buy time. Gumayusi kites backwards, T1 kites backwards. Here's the big combo onto Sivir. And luckily, of course, even though they sent everything onto Gumayusi, T1 is still chilling here, because he used so many cooldowns. So here Rumble, you see his ult cooldown is ticking down. It's on CD now. That's why he didn't overheat specifically here. He was making sure that when the ult is off cooldown, as you see on the timer there, 3, 2, 1, that he's not overheated. And then he sends it here. He didn't press W there when he could have. He gets a kill on the Nautilus. And beautifully, Galio survives by entering the Herald. And then you see this combo that only the best Tekken players can do, and the best League of Legends players can do, where the shield from Rift Herald is used to then break the tower and Faker survives with 1 HP. Let's take a look at the replay one more time, because this play here is vicious and delicious. Take a look at that again. Just Faker's HP as he hops into the Herald. They dropped it for the combat, and then of course when you crash into the tower you get that big shield. Beautiful play from Faker, and beautiful play and movement from Keria too. Our Life tried to find the 4v4 punish to try to get some traction into the game, but Doran responded with the TP, and Keria did his cross-country move back into, of course, the Rift Herald. The next objective is going to come up is, of course, the Drake, and I just want you guys to pay attention to the fighting lines that T1 creates. So basically, think of it as, well, if you have position, it means the enemy needs to enter into you. It's only dangerous for them to enter into you if you throw spells at them as they enter into you. You need to create a circumstance where the enemy pays HP or cooldowns for the purpose of information. As the enemy phase checks and try to get vision on all of these bushes as they try to enter, you need to make sure that you're there with Rumble poking, there with Sivir poking, throw your boomerangs, throw your E's, and rotate your ability so the enemy pays an HP price to go. As you see, T1 are very, very aware of this, and they're going to contest beautifully on the banana bush to make sure that they always have, a presence there. They commit all the way into bottom side. Galio is the one covering mid, so they are not worried about the mid turret. They just read the movement of How Alive. They were a little bit over-postured onto mid. But take a look at this line here that T1, of course, creates. When they are on this side of the map, meaning blue, they create a line here, they create a line here, and then the final line is here. And they make sure that the enemy, if they try to cross these, they always pay HP or CDs. If you want to enter here, you're going to pay HP. They always put their champions with poke in this area. They pull out the dragon, and then as the enemy crosses through, make sure that they pay HP. And here Our Life desperately try to re-enter. Zeus, after pushing out and catching bot, he's going to connect with his bros. You see Doran's trying to throw spells. The Light gets control over the banana bush. He gets a little bit of an entry, and then the Rumble ult beautifully clips into everybody. Yeah, sadly, the Sivir boomerang and the Rumble E didn't hit as they would have liked maybe. They could have turned maybe earlier with Poppy. But they win out the situation and they kill out the Nautilus. In terms of the turn lines, we're also going to see it on the Atacam that is coming up very soon. Here they're crossing into bottom side. Doran is just playing safe, waiting for information. And then the moment he sees the Vi on bot lane, which is the crucial detail, then he contests the wave again. Most Rumble players that we see in these type of games, they are dying to Vi at least 6 times. And then they're like, I'm weak side. Well, Doran makes sure that doesn't happen. Keria made sure that doesn't happen. And whenever they spot Vi, he feels good about playing aggressively on the wave again, and he is playing accordingly to all the information that, of course, Keria, Oner, and the rest of the squad are generating for him. We're going to fast forward a little bit longer. Keria now with the wave, now crossing this line. They know now that once again, the lines of information that the enemy needs to cross are going to be here, or going to be here. It's very, very difficult through Fog of War. They're going to once again have to pay HP. They don't know the position of Wukong. They don't know the position of Sivir, Galio. They can all turn very, very easily. So it's not only the fact that you need to pay something to enter, it's also that it becomes remarkably dangerous. And I mentioned the item economy before, where they waited for Trinity Force. They didn't want to fight without Leandri's Trinity Force because Eclipse is cheaper, Sun the Sky is cheaper. You don't want to fight before you're strong. This is one of those moments where you see a clear, difference in power. If you look at Sivir having 2 items, Wukong having 2 items, any fight should be winning and good for them. The only counterplay they have is to, of course, attack Doran. But as they leash this objective, Doran's already recalling, and if the enemy wants to commit all the way to hitting that tier 1, he's not going to risk it to give away, of course, his shutdown. Let's take a look now how T1 play through. Just remember this concept about these fighting lines that they're going to create, because Galio is going to look on to Peanut, he's going to look to use spells on him, Peanut Q's out, because he doesn't know where Wukong is, doesn't know any information. He makes sure that they posture aggressively, and they threaten, because any fight of course is winning. Gumayusi also walks up, and then in the end this Atakan has become low enough that they can look to finish it. The turn comes through, and T1 of course make it as difficult as possible for Life to re-enter. Remember those lines and posture to throw your abilities and be ready there to of course party. In the end, there's going to be one more scenario on top where Doran, here after Poppy bases, Keria is going to open straight onto Doran's side. They have a pink. Doran does such a great job of course, always playing safe. Right now he has Zeka's Arm Guard, so he can play a little bit more aggressive to bait out the Vi. He makes sure that he looks a little, just tasty enough for the people to be interested. He saw Annie cross, and now Keria is marking because Sivir is getting prior for free, and Galio has full wards on bottom side, so they're just playing around information. And then in the end here, the engage comes through. Doran, Peanut kind of runs it down because he just queues into Poppy W dry, and then he sends it on, of course, Gumayusi because he has no other play. Gumayusi gets his spell shield kind of smote away, and Life destroyed, absolutely destroyed. I repeat, T1 very good in terms of understanding what the game plan is, defending Rumble at all times, syncing up and turning at the right moments, understanding the economy of the game in a beautiful fashion, and always being there to spread the vision. Using the least amount of people to, of course, accomplish the goals in the game is what perfect and great macro is. If you can do Drake with one person and then defend the enemy counterplay, or you can find ways to set up the same goals in the game with less people, the other people or the other champions in the game can continue to the next point in the game and maintain tempo. And this is something that T1 do so beautifully. Something as simple as Keria getting a base advantage bottom to then punish the Eclipse base for Zeus, and something as simple as doing so in unison with the timer to get, of course, Leandri and, of course, Rumble, Trinity Force and Wukong, and not stressing out is just simply beautiful. And then when they finally set up for the Herald after the double play there, to, of course, also be in the presence of mind to defend the only counterplay the enemy has bot lane, T1, just a work of art here in terms of team play. A lot to learn, a lot to gain. Just a masterclass from T1 across the board. Let me see what we can find in the other games. These games are super interesting to go with and to take a look at. Usually I use the replay system, but basically I couldn't find the kind of client with 25.16 because we have a new patch and nobody uploaded the 25.16 client yet, so it's something that I need to figure out. Either way, let me know if you liked the video. All the best to you. Take care. Bye-bye.